Same with Gregg Bissonnette. I got to watch him on a session once too. It was a pre-record for a TV show that only made it to 13 episodes, but getting to go watch music recorded for a TV show was fascinating too, and Gregg couldn't have been sweeter. We're just talking, and he says, well, you know, one of my big influences is John Bonham. And I was 14, 15 at the time, and I just remember I kind of shook my head at him. I was like, what? And he looked me right in the eye and he said, you listen to me, young man. And he said, that's maybe the greatest rock and roll drummer of all time, and you need to study him.
This is the Rich Redmond Show.
What's up, folks? Yep, it's that time. Your iPhone, your watch, your clock, if you got a clock on the wall, is correct. It's time for another exciting episode of The Rich Redmond Show. I promise it's going to be exciting. We talk to musicians, authors, thought leaders, forget it, comedians. I talk to a lot of drummers. Everybody, no one listens to the other episodes. They want to know about the drummers, and I got a great one for you today. Jim McCarthy, my co-host, sidekick, co-producer. He's got his own podcast network. What's up, man, since I saw you yesterday?
Oh, just... doing my thing. Producing
20 podcasts and your other company, your side hustle that does garage doors, lighting, all that stuff.
Not really a side hustle. It's about 3 full-time jobs.
It's 3 full-time jobs, but you're having your big corporate holiday party today.
We are.
And is it going to be catered? What am I expecting today? Am I going to stick around?
We got some food.
Got some
coming.
Food?
It's coming. It's catered by Publi.
What is it? Is it a local business?
It's a local shopping center, the grocery store Publi.
Okay. Oh, Publix. Gotcha. That's funny. The French version. Right. Well, listen, let's get into it today, man. And I just got to say that I am so excited because I get to keep this is my pride and joy at my age to still have hair. We finally figured out after 200 episodes that I could just wear my in-ear monitors and keep my due.
God bless headphone amplifiers.
Dude, I love it. Okay, hey, today's guest, hailing from Southern California, calling Nashville home for 35 years. He's a drummer, he's a producer, he's an arranger, he's an engineer, a sometimes singer. That's what the wiki says. He's worked with the likes of Alice Cooper, Reba, Miley Cyrus, Blake Shelton, Brooks and Dunn, Amy Grant, Michael. The list goes on and on. Our friend, Scott Williamson.
Howdy.
What's up, brother?
Sitting here, waiting to talk to you.
I love it. Hey, so... The funny thing is I'm very impressed because I've offered you colorful chocolate today and you said, nope.
Oh, and it hurts. It hurts.
Discipline.
Yeah.
Hashtag.
Chocolate, sugar is kind of like whiskey is for some people, sugar for me. And I have to be off of it right now.
Yeah, they're like, the key to life, say no to sugar, say no to preservatives, say no to processed foods. And, it's really hard to avoid all of those things all the time. It
is, especially because Christmas is coming and my mom's going to be making some apple pie.
Nice.
So I'm saving up a little bit for that.
Does she live here in town or is she coming?
Yep, just down the street in Spring Hill.
I love that.
Yep.
So I'm a new Spring Hillian. I moved here 6 weeks
wow.
ago. Yeah.
Do you like it?
I love it. I'm learning all the businesses and, many...
He says carefully.
Well, like,
do you like it?
Well, the funny thing is I missed getting into Franklin, so I'm just a couple exits south. And Jim has been such a longtime friend, 18 years. He's kind of like the muse on my shoulder, kind of whispers in my ear. He said like years ago, "Hey, why are you driving a Honda Element? You work really hard. Go get that Audi." And so then I was looking at this insane payment for 3 years. Thanks, Jim, but I really did enjoy it. And then he goes, "Hey, man, come to my town." And you know what? I love it. The quality of my house went way, way up. I got a bigger yard. Neighbors are fantastic. Less than a mile from my house is my gym, the Walgreens, the Publix, my bank.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, we came down 10 years ago sort of under duress. Did not want to do it. And now I'm so happy to be down here. So, we love it.
Yeah, and I'm learning where all the businesses are and where the California burritos are and where to smoke a cigar and all the stuff.
Burrito.
Oh, we got a great cigar place.
Mission?
Yep. The Mission.
Yes, it's great.
Now, this is crazy because I met the owner, one of the 4 owners.
Not that I would ever smoke a cigar.
No way. It's like our watering hole. Like I spent way too much time at a watering hole in Nashville over the years, mixing business and pleasure. And now every time I walk into that place, I see a musician I haven't seen in 5, 10, 20 years.
Yeah. And it's across from Big Bad Breakfast, and you and I were just talking about how much we like breakfast, so you can kill 2 birds.
Is that better than Third Watch or First Watch?
I'm not going to say better. It's different.
Yeah.
I love great breakfast places, so I'll try anything.
I'm going to say First Watch is a lot healthier.
Maybe.
You can make better choices there.
I think you're right, and I'm having to learn to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As am I.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I'm a breakfast food guy. I can eat it 3 times a day. So what I'll do is I'm unafraid. You remember for years they were like, don't eat the yolks, right? And here's the deal. A yolk, an egg is nature's multivitamin.
Yeah.
I eat 4 a day. I eat an entire avocado every day.
Yeah.
I'll treat myself to some burnt bacon or some turkey sausage. It's just really, you got to watch out for the bread. I eat Dave's bread.
Yeah. Same.
You know.
Sounds like are you doing like the Mediterranean kind of thing?
I live between paleo and Mediterranean.
Yeah. That's what my doctor wants me to do.
Yeah.
And I'm struggling because I really, really like the pancakes.
Yeah.
But eggs
looking at you're in great shape.
Yeah.
I am not in great shape. This sweatshirt covers a multitude of sins.
Yeah, but that's a great color on you. I love hoodies. I'm a late life hoodie discoverer.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's my wife likes it too. So, there you go.
She likes the hoodies. Athleisure.
She likes this color.
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that.
Athleisure.
Yep.
Leisure. So we were talking
Hold
before.
on. What's your clothing of choice when you play? Like you're in the studio.
Anything that's relatively loose fitting and doesn't make me hot. I get, hot too easily.
I'm
So
a sweater too, man.
Yeah. I mean, I'll do this in the winter if I have to, but I don't like to wear real heavy stuff while I'm playing.
That's a good point. That's interesting because you guys can't have fans on you in the studio.
No.
Yeah.
You got to go for the smelly take. And I don't know about you, but I mean, I'm recording a podcast today in air conditioning. I got 3 shirts in the car just in case.
Yeah. Yeah. You're like Frank Sinatra. Changed his shorts like 10 times a day. Most studios have decent enough air conditioning, and the days of drum booths are mostly over for now, so we don't have to worry about getting too hot. But, I just don't like being hot.
Do you pound coffee in the studio?
Oh, my gosh.
I consume so much. I give myself the squirts. It's so bad.
Oh, this is going to be a fun podcast.
Oh, you can say whatever you want.
Yeah. No, I'm sure. It's an irritable bowel syndrome sufferer's dream here.
I used to have that. I treated myself with diet.
Good. We'll talk about this off air.
This is real. You don't get this on the other drum.
I'm 50.
Yeah.
I'm 54. All right.
So, being raised in Southern California, how long were you there before you came to?
Right out of high school. I was 18.
So that had to be a great nurturing environment because did you have a musical, Dad was a music minister.
Yeah. Well, I grew up at church and in the studio because my dad was first a woodwind player. He did session work, but he was also an orchestrator and an arranger. So, and sometimes a producer. So I spent a lot of time falling asleep under consoles when I was 8, 9 years old, I just was always absorbing studio drummers, and
that's amazing.
I knew early what I wanted to do.
That's amazing training and education by absorption. I grew up in sleepy El Paso, Texas, and there was no music business. And so only thing I could do is read Modern Drummer, watch MTV, practice, and then dream, and then figure out how I was going to get to some of these energy points in the universe, New York, LA, Nashville. And so it's almost like there's the Shannon Forrest thing. His dad was a producer, and there's someone else in town, the Omardians.
Aaron Sterling's dad did very similar stuff to what my dad does, and Aaron's kind of a good player, so he's had a relatively decent career.
Totally.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
It's fun. It's a nice way to grow up. It's a little bit of I feel sort of bad. It's it was a bit of a leg up, I would say.
Well, that's good. I mean, you could take, there's Nepo babies, you know what I mean? It's happening. It happens. And shoot, I would take it. I'd run with that thing down the field. Touchdown.
Yeah. I'm not going to lie. A lot of the early stuff that I did was not necessarily as my dad's client, although that happened. But a lot of the work I got was because people knew my dad, and I got work sort of on the coattails of that. So
you were off to the races, and I looked up somewhere. Your first teacher was Ken Cox.
Yeah,
at Driscoll's in Thousand Oaks.
Where did you find this?
I found this on the wiki.
Wiki? I didn't even know I had a wiki.
Yeah, you
page.
you either have a wiki or I got this from your .com maybe.
Okay. Well, yeah, Ken Cox, son of a gun. Do you know Ken?
No, is he still with us?
He is. He's got a channel on it's called Stick Aerobics, and I think it's on YouTube. I had a few teachers, and I would say the one who was most influential was actually my junior high band director. I showed up in 6th grade thinking I was all that, and he was very quick to help me understand that I was not. And everybody that does what we do, there's that moment in your formation where somebody has to kick your butt.
Yep.
And for me, it was Mr. Leff at Lindero Canyon Middle School. And I still credit him with being one of the great mentors of my life. So he was incredible. And he's revered out there. He's been retired for 10 years, but.
So maybe Ken was, here's your rudiments, kid. Here's how you read.
Yes.
But your band director was all about discipline, attitude, humility.
Yes. And back up to Ken for a minute. So when I first started taking drum lessons with Ken, I was 9 years old. And I went in and played for him a little bit. And at that time, I'm 9 years old, it was all Buddy Rich all the time. And he was the first guy to say, don't walk away from Buddy, but here's two guys you need to look at. And I didn't know who. Steve Gadd, I was like, okay, whatever. And Peter Erskine.
Yeah.
And I was like, whatever. And then I will never forget where I was the first time I heard the fill going into the first verse on Roof Garden, which is on Al Jarreau's Breaking Away record. And it was a jazz station in LA where they would give you the credits after the song. And the guy said that was Steve Gadd. And I was like, oh, this is the guy. And it's one of the greatest drum fills in history.
So is that one of
That's the one.
Yeah.
You know it too.
That one.
It truly is one of the greatest ever. It's so short. It's just this stupid little, and it's just brilliant. And I was like, oh, okay, now I understand what he's talking about. And so that took me off on another rabbit trail. And
just the subtle beauty of Gadd. And he's still to this day.
Oh my
he's
gosh.
80. And he's
still playing, right?
He's just played Asia with Will Lee and just is, just doing it.
Yeah. He's so many people's, deserted island drummer.
Yeah. He's the North Star.
Boy.
And I just saw Peter Erskine at the Percussive Art Society, and he sat in with I believe it was the Army Big Band. It was one of the services big bands, and it was a fantastic big band, and they had 5 guest drummers.
Yep.
And he was the best.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just saw a video of him with Weather Report in the mid-late 70s. He's probably 25, up there, shirt off, playing with, I'm sorry. He was the first guy, I think it was him, I heard him and Brecker. It might have been on a Mike Stern record. This would have been in high school. And it was people, it was just all discovery. Everybody knows what this is if you listen to jazz.
Yeah.
But it was just him. Everybody kind of walked away, and it's just Erskine and Brecker just back and forth for about 4 minutes.
Like Elvin and Coltrane.
Oh my gosh.
But in a modern setting.
Yes. Yeah. It was, Chick Corea could play drums. He was an amazing drummer.
Yeah.
And I remember hearing some recordings of him doing that. Same deal, but these are the things that I used the word formation a minute ago. As you're developing and you have these new discoveries, they're just so huge.
Yeah.
I wanted to be a session player. I knew that I wasn't going to be playing that kind of stuff all the time, or even maybe primarily, but I felt like I would like to learn some of this finesse and be able to apply it in some way.
Nice.
And those guys were just hugely, and I got to watch Mr. Erskine on a session one time in LA when I was 15 or 16. And he was so sweet.
Have you kept in touch with him?
No. Same with Gregg Bissonnette. I got to watch him on a session once too. It was a pre-record for a TV show that only made it to 13 episodes. But getting to go watch music recorded for a TV show was fascinating too. And Gregg couldn't have been sweeter. So,
well, every time I listen, I'm a Friends fanatic. I feel like it holds up. And it's so funny and racy, and it would never work in today's day. But I listen to all the, the intro and outro, the aleatory music, and it's Gregg.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people don't know just how good he is.
Yeah.
I mean, Gregg is a tour de force. And I doubt he would even remember me, but there's a funny Gregg story. On that day, do you mind if I tell this?
Tell me, please. Totally. Oh, yeah.
So
Gregg might be listening. Thanks, Gregg.
Well, we'll see. He wouldn't remember this, but it was a big moment for me. It was all jazz and all Christian music for me. That's what I listened to growing up. And I had a couple of funny experiences because of those two polarities. One of which is I'm watching Gregg on this TV show, pre-record live band. He's sight reading. I can't believe what he's reading. And afterwards, we just struck up a conversation, and I just, hey, who are your influences? And I'd heard Gregg playing really like really deep fusion stuff.
Like the Brandon Fields record?
Yes. How do you know that record?
I love it. I have the transcription. I worked on it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. There's a song on that record.
The Other Story.
I think there's a song called, I want to say it's called Mind Control.
The Brain Dance.
Brain Dance. That's what it is. Yeah. Well, I knew it had something to do with the cranium.
Yeah.
He plays a solo. Oh, God, everybody, it's hard to find, but I think it's posted on YouTube. Go listen to the drum solo.
It's a well-developed.
It's a clinic. Yeah. Okay, so we're just talking, and he says, well, one of my big influences is John Bonham. And I was 14, 15 at the time, and I just remember I kind of shook my head at him. I was like, what? And he looked me right in the eye, and he said, you listen to me, young man. And I'm, he said, that's maybe the greatest rock and roll drummer of all time, and you need to study him. Well, again, sort of like I told you, Mr. Leff, a minute ago, that was one of those moments where an elder dressed me down, let me know you're capable of being an idiot, don't be. And it was such a powerful moment for me that this guy who's playing all of this heady, that John Bonham, you're going to have to get some of that. So I did.
Yeah.
Because if Gregg says so, probably worth. Yeah.
It was he did you a favor that day.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Such a big favor.
Yeah. I feel like I'm missing out. I need to listen to some of this stuff.
Well, Brandon Fields is a fantastic LA fusion saxophone player. He's like a session saxophone player, but he put out his own solo records, and he always had, the best, the Joey Heredias and the Vinnies and the Greggs.
Everybody.
And
everybody.
Really. And that's funny. When I was 25, had graduated from North Texas State, was kicking around Dallas, was thinking, what am I going to do? Is it New York? Is it hailing taxis? Do I want to be like Sean Pelton? Am I going to LA? The sun is shining where they're playing, everyone's wearing super colorful purple shirts from Chess King, and we're playing jazz pop.
Z Cavarici pants.
Or am I going to go be like Harry Stinson and play on TNN, because I would see on my cable box with the wood paneling.
Yep.
I'd watch the Nashville network. And I really wanted to go to LA and play jazz, smooth jazz.
Mm-hmm.
And, but anyways, God said, no, kid, you're going to get an audition with Barbara Manterell and Tricia Yearwood and Dina Carter, and people are going to go, you sound good, kid, but you don't live here. And that's what happened.
Yep.
And I said, well, God, they like my drumming in Nashville. Off I go.
Yep.
So I'm glad I did, because New York is hard. Even if you're working on Broadway, you're living in Connecticut and taking the train in.
Yep.
LA, if you're a great reader, you're still up against Gregg, Russ Miller, you know what I mean? And the mortgages, wow. Mm-hmm. And so everyone seems to be coming here. And we've been here for 25, 30 years. So
I'm so grateful that my folks moved when they did. It was tough at the time, but in retrospect, it was a really good thing for my career, even though we couldn't have known it then. So it was great.
Well, you have this massive body of work. When you move here, who did you play on the road a little bit, or is it just?
I didn't. Well, I did a couple of spot dates here and there with a few Christian artists, but I knew early on I want to be a session player. And like I said, I fortunately had my dad's coattails a little bit. He was in a very specific stream of the industry, so I wasn't going to live there all the time, but because of some of the people I met in that stream, it led to other stuff, and I started doing sessions fairly quickly when I got to town. I had done a little bit of studio work as a teenager in LA, so I had some understanding of what it was. The culture in the studio here is a little different from what LA was 35 years ago, so I had to relearn some things. But for the most part, I stuck in the studio. There, like I said, there were a couple of people that I would go out and do 7-8 dates with, just get on the bus and be gone for a few days. But that I never really did much touring actually until I was in my 40s.
Yeah.
And even then it wasn't that much.
Yeah, because didn't you do some road dates with Michael W. Smith?
I did. Yeah. He's the main one. I was out with him for about 3 years.
I mean, he is like a icon of that genre.
He is. Yeah.
Does he live here?
He does.
Ah.
Yeah.
You know what's really funny? I got to say this. So it's like, I know all you guys. I'm like really good friends. We're all really good. Tony Mora, Steve Brewster, John Hammond, I don't think I've never met. Dan Needham, I hardly ever see him. Garth Justice will exchange some funny texts every once in a while.
Oh.
Greg Harrington, I know him from...
Every one of these guys is a brilliant, brilliant player.
Yeah.
Every one of them.
All of them. Will Denton, you mentioned David Huff.
Yep.
Aaron Smith. I don't know Aaron Smith. But the funny thing is that my experience in contemporary Christian music is in 99, I worked a little bit with Susan Ashton.
Oh, sure.
So she was dating Garth Brooks's brother, and she was trying to make a transition from that to country pop.
Yep.
And so we went and we did Austin City Limits. We did the Donnie and Marie show. And we would play some of her...
Because Donnie and Marie is about as country as it gets.
A little bit country, a little bit rock and roll.
That's
yeah.
See, now,
Yeah.
I should have said that. You win.
You beat us, Jim.
You always do.
But so we played a couple of her songs, her Dove Award winning stuff. It was fun. But I'm like, this whole genre of music is created in this city. Other than the drummers, I don't run into the producers, the writers. It's almost like you guys are hiding.
And it's a little bit different crop of folks now. It's kind of like all other sects of the music industry have changed the way it's a little bit different now than it was 25 years ago.
Yeah. Because Chris McHugh was in the mix back then as well.
Gosh.
Yeah.
God, what a genius.
Whiteheart and all that.
Yes. Yeah. God, there's another influence. Man, there's a tour de force.
So when you came to town, was Chris already doing the thing?
Oh, gosh, okay. Yeah. Like,
gotcha.
I came to town and I was chasing, at the time, Mark Hammond sort of owned, so Mark is Hammond. John's older brother.
Yeah, okay.
And Mark, pound for pound, there's never been a better drummer in Nashville than Mark Hammond. But he decided not to play very much and went into production and orchestration. He does all kinds of stuff for Disney and soundtracks, all this kind of, Mark is a genius.
Wow.
So, but when I got here, I got to watch him on a few sessions. He was still doing it. And Chris McHugh, you mentioned, Steve Brewster, John Hammond, Dan was starting to do some work. Shannon Forrest was already pretty well established. And I was kind of chasing those guys. I wanted to see what they were doing and to kind of try and assimilate it into what I was doing because they were all so good at it.
Yeah.
And still are.
Well, I mean, you came, you got your foot in the door, kicked the door open, and 30 years later, you're still doing it all the time on the highest level. So that's pretty incredible.
Well, you say the highest level. I thank you for that. Some days Anyway, yeah. Hey, I'm not 25 anymore. It is funny how you run out of breath during a session.
But I'm assuming that, I mean, of course, you're drum pair to Harry's moving your stuff, and Grayson is set. You go and you're in a traditional room, pounding the coffee, and there's the whole that thing, the brotherhood and the sisterhood. But then you have, I'm sure, your tracking space, and you're sending files, and because we have to.
Yeah.
So the new house that I got, of course, I got the 20 by 21 room with the high ceilings, and I've got to slowly but surely put it together and upgrade my gear because it's an expectation. But I'm such a people person that I love being around the thing.
Yeah.
And
I honestly, I feel like we play better with other people.
Yeah.
Like when I'm working at home, you and I are drummers. So very often when people send us files, all it is a click track and sort of somebody just pounding away on a scratch acoustic guitar part that's they're going to replace later. There's nothing to really get inspired by. And then, I don't know about you, I'll go in and start listening to my part and looking at it on the grid and going, I'm terrible. Because you're not really focused on the music anymore. Yeah. You're focused on the mechanics of it. Now, I like working at home. I love waking up and going out and playing a drum track in my pajamas.
Yeah.
But I always feel there's a synergy from being in the room with people and not worrying too much about all those mechanics and just zeros. Playing music.
Yeah.
I think we do better work that way.
It's more efficient too. Like when you can make a decision quickly in a conversation, but if you're going back and forth with FaceTime or texting, or sometimes I'll track over at Tony Mora's room, and it's fun because he's a drummer producing a drummer, and he's got that video thing where they can watch us.
Yep.
It's way more efficient to
all be in the room.
Yeah. Get there faster.
Yeah, and everybody knows it, but it's also, look, you work with the tools you're given. And if you've got a client that's, in Australia, it doesn't make sense for them to take a 15-hour flight to record 2 songs. So, you do what you have to do, and I love all of it.
Yeah.
But I'm like you. I like people, most of the people that I work with, I adore.
Yeah.
It's, it's half the fun. It's part of why we got into this.
Yeah, that's
so
you have it
most
wired.
Of the people, you can guess who you are.
Do you have it wired where you're just doing all of your engineering? It's just templates and you're rocking and just.
Yeah, for the most part, I've started mixing a lot. I've become a mix engineer, so I'm a little bit picky about front end with drum sounds and stuff.
Yeah.
I worked out. I guess template would be the word, because most of the time, unless it's a really unique kind of a track, I can usually just open up Pro Tools and start recording.
Yeah.
Occasionally, as you know, you have to,
shimmy,
pull up an 18-inch bass drum or something. But yeah, for the most part, it's kind of lock and load.
So now, what inspired you to do the mix thing? How long have you been doing that?
Well, the other part of my career has been being a producer. There was a season through the 90s and early 2000s where I was producing a good bit of contemporary Christian stuff.
Yeah.
And as budgets kept getting squeezed, I enjoyed the engineering process. I was doing a lot of it between tracking and mixing. I would always hand stuff off to mix engineers at the end. But as the budgets kept coming down, I realized, I think I might enjoy mixing, and I think I could learn to be good at it.
Yeah.
I didn't really want to take work away from other people, but it was getting to where my production fee was essentially nothing because of what I was paying out to other vendors. So I learned to mix, and then I realized I might be good enough at this to market myself just mixing outside of production, and one thing led to another.
Nice. So, yeah, you got to jib and jab. I mean, right, Jim? I mean, it's like...
Totally.
You have to diversify in this business now. Yeah. It's helpful.
Totally.
It's like everything else. I mean, even in radio is like that as well. Back when I was in radio, I quickly discovered the ascent through the markets up the like into the majors and stuff like that. If you could get there, wasn't enough to pay the bills anymore.
Yeah.
You had to do the side hustle. And it was somebody that, when I moved to Vegas, he says, I just got tired of seeing all the salespeople drive the nice cars. Yeah. And I did my own side hustle thing and voiceover. And I'll never forget that conversation, because that's what inspired me.
I drive a Ford Taurus now. You better believe it.
I have a grocery getter too. Yeah, Japanese grocery getter.
It was Will Ferrell. I drive a Dodge Stratus.
Well, what's the one that he drove in Daddy's home? It was...
I don't know.
The Ford Edge, I think it was called.
Ford Edge.
It was almost like a paid placement.
Yeah.
But
I like Ford Edges.
They're not bad.
That's a nice car.
They're like the Ford's version of a Honda Element.
We have officially hijacked Rich's podcast.
No,
we always do.
Dude, I love the Honda Element. I had one in black. I had one in silver. I had one in cherry red. I had one in blue and silver. They were just great.
Yeah.
Shove the drums in.
Honda, you got to bring it back. Market it to drummers.
I really don't know why they got rid of it. It's because everybody that has them is passionate.
Yeah, they weren't the prettiest cars, but boy, they sure were functional.
Yeah.
Yeah, my girl is like, one of the reasons I didn't date you early on was because I saw that car.
Mm. For me, it was usually
Poster.
I didn't date you because you were in marching band.
Oh yeah, but you got those hands, brother.
My wife, oh boy, my wife. We grew up. She was up in the central part of California, and she's assured me several times that if we had gone to high school together, we never would have gotten married. There's no way she would have. Yeah,
I was a nerdorama.
Oh,
Well, where'd you meet her?
Well, because we sang as a family.
Yeah.
This is part of having a dad as a music minister. That's one of the reasons we came to Nashville. We had a record deal and all this stuff. Well, we went up. It's a long story. The short version is we went to a church where my wife was attending, and we sang there. Yeah. It's a way better story than that, but that's how I met her. She was 13 and I was 15.
Nice.
And we were married that year. Just kidding.
This is not West Virginia.
Oh, boy. Hope you don't have any West Virginia listeners.
West Virginia.
Not anymore. They get it.
Yeah.
They're West Virginia people are going, yeah, you got us.
Lots of marriages and no teeth.
Yeah. Cemetery teeth.
I know.
Summer teeth.
That's
some
horrible.
are here, some are there.
You don't meet a lot of drummers from West Virginia. You just don't.
There are no West Virginian drummers. Anybody listening to this, comment below if you're from West Virginia.
Michael W. Smith is from West Virginia.
Oh, God. We're going to have to take his whole chunk
No,
out.
you're not.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
No, this is good stuff.
Yeah.
Michael W. Smith can come on and defend West Virginia.
There you go. Come on, Smitty.
Yeah.
Oh,
Come
my
do it.
God. So, and your son, he's a drummer.
Well,
he's a videographer for Jim, and he did one of my videos.
Oh, Seth.
Yeah.
Well, so that's a different son. My oldest is an amazing drummer, but he wanted to get his hands dirtier in the process. He composes stuff for like gaming. He's doing gaming composing and online documentaries, and
gaming's like bigger than the music business.
He's found his way into a stream that it'd be nice if we could all find our way into.
Wow.
Yeah. I just became a grandpa last week. So
congrats.
Congrats.
Yeah, we finally got a redhead. This used to be red at one time. You'll just have to trust me on that.
Yeah.
I could see that.
Yeah. I could see that.
But the thing is that for a redhead, even though your hair has changed, you don't look like you've got the traditional gray.
Redheads
it's
kind of
like
go white, I think.
Yeah, well, that's not white. It's definitely got a reddish hue, like a dirty blonde in a way.
Yeah.
You're being kind. I call it a non-color now. It's just sort of
beige.
It's a little bit of red left in the beard, but yeah.
You got a signature look, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's critical.
Hey, if I could be in your shape, I'd be in great shape. My goal for 2025 is 50 by 50.
Yeah.
Dropping 50 pounds by 50.
Jim, let's do it together. We'll go to Spring Hill Fitness and I will just push you.
Dude, I
burpees, all the body weight
yeah.
exercises. You don't even need to go anywhere. Just do a prison
calisthenics.
workout.
Yeah.
Let's ride bikes.
Yep.
Yeah. Was there a beach around here? We could be like Apollo Creed and Rocky.
Well, the funniest thing is that I tore my meniscus like during COVID, because it's like, everything in life is moderation, right? So here I am in COVID, there's nothing. So every day, I went through the pandemic with my gal, West Hollywood. I know every part of where every dumpster is, where every turn. And I just ran on concrete 7-8 miles a day, tore the meniscus, repaired it. Now I prioritize weight training. And if I could fit it in, I'll do the cardio. It was always flipped before.
Oh, interesting.
And now I have more muscle mass and I burn more calories and I don't have to be such a Nazi and I'm able to maintain my weight. Whereas I got to get my 8 miles in. I got to get my 8 miles. So just lift the weights.
Yeah. I've had chronic back stuff for about 16 years. So weights, I have to be real careful.
Yeah.
So it has to be cardio for me. It's a lot of walking.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of like what you're talking about is calisthenics, just using the body weight, or maybe even
you can go super
stretching.
light stretch.
Yeah.
Stretch, hydrate, vitamins, and then do very light weights with high reps.
Yeah. Yeah. Like a pound or two. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah. So Seth is the videographer.
He is.
He's good too.
Yeah.
He's really good. And he doesn't want to be a musician, he doesn't think, and yet he absorbs Jacob Collier 24/7, understands parts of what Jacob is doing in ways that I don't.
Right.
But not sure he's going to be a musician. I'm like, okay. I mean, you do whatever God's calling you to do.
In today's world, it's
at this stage of the game, I'm happy if my kid's videography is going to be around for a while, and he's good at it. But it's just funny to me that he's so gifted musically,
and wants nothing to do with it.
I wouldn't say that, but he's on the fence.
Yeah.
And I love it that he's thinking it through. It's just fascinating to me.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
I think for us, it was just like, there is no other option.
Yeah. Oh gosh. What on earth would I do?
Yeah.
I got nothing.
Yeah. Well, what did you do to work other than that? You came up in a band, but nothing else in terms of,
the closest
high school jobs?
No, the closest thing to a real job I have. So now when you do orchestrations, guys orchestrate usually in the computer in Sibelius or Finale or whatever. So the individual parts, they can just spit them out on a computer printer, right? Back in the day, we hand wrote it with calligraphy pens.
Yeah.
And my dad, since I didn't go to college, and my dad was like, well, you've got to get some good theory training, and a good way to do that is if I force you to start copying my scores. And I had to learn to do some of the transpositions.
Oh, yeah.
Because a lot of the instruments do not read off of, C score. So I did a bunch of that. When I came to town as an 18-year-old, his new copyist was like, I don't trust an 18-year-old to do my copy. So I just ran his copy machine for $5 an hour. And that's the closest thing to a real job I've ever had.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And please tell me you're still a good tipper.
I've
Because most people that haven't had a job, waiting tables or something.
Oh, tipper. Oh gosh.
Yeah, because I have friends in my life that are just such bad tippers, and they're always the ones that I never waited.
When you said tipper, I thought you said temper, and I thought that was a word for. Yes, even if the service is bad, it's 20%.
Right.
Yeah.
Nice.
If it's good, it's higher. I just can't. Now,
are you tipping the Starbucks barista?
No, that.
Is that tipping culture out of control?
The tip culture thing is getting a little much for me.
I'm waiting for it at Walgreens.
You're waiting. That's like, I think that the self-checkout machine wanted to be tipped one time. Like, hey, how much you want to leave a tip?
Yeah.
For who?
Yeah, I think that
me?
That could end up backfiring. We'll see. But yes, I just when somebody's really, really giving you bad service, your initial reaction is, God, what a jerk. And then I think, boy, what kind of a day must they have had to be in this bad of a mood? So if I force myself to think of it in those terms, it's like, you know what? Here's $50.
Do you use their name if they're wearing a name tag? I do.
I try to. Yeah. I try to at some point. That's a separate exercise for me because I have a mental block with names.
Me too.
It's hard for me to remember even like my close friends. I get my kids wrong.
I totally know what I totally know what you mean.
Yeah,
Steve.
Yeah, boy. If you had any idea, that's funny because so many people call me Steve. It's all the time.
You kind of look like a Steve.
Yeah.
You know the funny thing is, can I tell the story about when I was with introducing Reggie Hams? Reggie?
Oh gosh.
Yeah. Actually, you've played with him.
Yes, and we're buds. We've been together.
Oh, you're gonna love this story.
Yeah.
So he asked me to MC part of his Bella Bash back probably 2011 or so. I was still working in radio, and he says, well, you're with Jack FM. Why don't you be an MC? And I said, nobody knows who I am. It's not like I'm a jock. I'm not an on-air personality. He goes, I don't care. You're with Jack FM. I said, dude, nobody know. Okay. Yeah. I'm more than happy to do it, but nobody's going to know who I am.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, your voice is all over it. I said, again, it's not like I'm going, hi, I'm Jim McCarthy. Yeah. I'm going to do a read for, some so-and-so Ford. So anyway, I did it. And I told the story of how he and I met and how I did a video for him back in the day. And I was supposed to introduce a band. And as I got to the end of my story, I completely spaced on their name.
Yes.
And they're waiting in the wings looking at me.
Yep.
And I'm going,
yep.
You guys ready for the next act? Yeah. And I'm going, holy crap, I can't think of their name. It was the Martins. How the heck do you forget the Martins?
Yep.
And
that's why I always have cue cards.
But the Martins are really good people with great senses of humor, so I bet they thought it was funny.
I felt awful.
Yeah.
They didn't do anything. They were like, dude, it's all cool. It's all,
I'm sure they thought it was funny.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was like, come on out, guys. That's how I did it.
Oh, amazing.
I'm like, how in the world am I going to get around this? And everybody could say, he totally forgot that.
But maybe when they walked off, you were like, ladies and gentlemen, the Martins.
Then it would the Mitchells. Yay. Martins.
It's amazing. But you're still all these decades in, all these presidencies into doing this thing. You got such an early start. You still love it, right?
Boy, most days. I mean, even I'm betting you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Not every single day is going in and making what you would call high art. You know?
Yeah.
Pop music is what it is. So, 75% of the time you're going in, you're playing on pop songs, good stuff, but pop music is what it is.
Yeah.
But I'm playing on pop music.
Yeah.
And I'm working with people that I really like. And people who are really good at what they do. And so, yes, I mean, it's seldom that I'm sitting in any recording session going, God, please just get me out of here.
Yeah.
It just doesn't happen very often, even on what we might consider a bad day. It's still great.
Yeah.
I saw guys, roofing houses in 100 degrees.
Yeah.
And I thought, that's really, really worthy workmanship.
Yeah.
That is a real job. And that's hard work, and I'm making a living. I don't have to work in 105 degrees.
Yeah.
So
it's really good that you have that perspective, though.
That's great.
Because without the actual experience, because I worked in a trade in the electrical field once upon a time, and I could always say, well, it beats feeding 5-aught wire into the ground in the rainstorm.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, 5-aught wire is about 1.25 inches thick, maybe 1.5 inches, and it's 14 pounds a foot.
Yep.
And I had to feed 4 of them into the ground and the guys are pulling it off reels. And I was like, man, I was questioning my life choices.
That's real work.
Yeah.
That's what I do. It's real work in the sense that we have a skill that people need.
Yeah.
But it's not real work when you put it in the context of some of the stuff people do to make a buck.
But I mean, to make a difference in people's, like my mom is a career nurse. She was a nurse for God bless her, 45 years or something. She finally threw in the towel. I mean, I have the photo of her throwing the towel at the camera, and and now it's crazy. A weird thing about retirement, my mom is such a type A, go-getter, high energy person. She's busier now than she was raising 3 kids, working full-time. She's in the pottery club and the gardening club and the line dancing club, and then she hosts dinners, and
that's fantastic.
She's just a high energy person.
She knows the importance of staying busy.
Yeah.
Well, because if you are the person that just ends up in the lazy boy in retirement, you die.
You got to keep going.
You got to keep moving. Why I said that? Oh, she said, I would tell her earlier in my Nashville journey and be like, hey, this is kind of like, my day rate I've been getting, and it's just, so many hundreds of dollars. But it's like, I'm gone. I have to ride this bus. I'm eating carnival food. She's like, Rich, you would not believe what I have to do to make $300. She goes, I have to work a 12-hour shift.
Yep.
People die on me. They're bleeding on me. They're peeing on me. I have to wipe butts.
Yep.
I was like, whoa.
That puts it into perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have people dying on me.
Yeah. Although for $300, sorry. Anyway, I'll let that.
But there's we're in this day and age where people will find you. The majority of my work, I mean, I have a .com. You gotta have it. It's almost like you gotta have it. It's just there as a placeholder on Google. But a lot of times we'll get our work through the socials, DMs, direct messages on Facebook or whatever, and someone will send you a track and they're like, hey, can you shoot a video for me? And hey, can I promote this? Can I tell people you were on the song? And sometimes you're happy to say, oh yeah. And sometimes it's so bad that you are like, I just really hope this never gets heard or seen.
Yeah, that's a struggle. But I think it's funny. I tell people sometimes what we do, you and I, the three of us, We cannot go down to St. Thomas Hospital tomorrow morning, scrub in, go into the OR, hand the surgeon $25,000 and say, I want to do your surgery for you today. Yeah. We can't do that.
Right.
But anybody that wants to make a record can do that to me and you. That's just the nature. And sometimes it's going to be great, and other times not so much.
Yeah.
But they're paying me to be there.
Right.
And I'm not saving anybody's life. This isn't neurosurgery. Right. We're making a record.
Yeah.
This is entertainment. And I'm making a pretty good buck for it. So maybe I should just shut up and enjoy the process.
There you go.
Even if the music isn't up to whatever my subjective standards are. It's funny. One of the most critical parts of living life and becoming an adult is trying really hard to learn to be humble. Humility is not my default posture. It's just generally not what we do. Eventually, I'm going to bow up on you. And all of these little experiences that we have throughout life, if you just look at it in retrospect and zoom out, you realize I am so fortunate to be with these people, to have the skill that God gave me.
Yes.
I'm paying the bills doing it. Why am I so arrogant about all of this? It's not that big of a deal.
Right.
So, I don't know.
Do you feel like you're arrogant though?
Boy, some days.
Yeah.
Ask my wife.
But there's a confidence that comes from the physicality and the leadership role that our instrument requires.
Absolutely. It's a trick trying to find the balance between confidence and arrogance. And I would like to look. I've said this in other podcasts, so anybody that's heard me before knows this is a broken record, but it's been kind of a principle. I've left enough dead bodies in the road behind me because of bad attitudes. On a bad day, somebody asked me to play one too many takes. I don't want to be remembered for that, and I can't control it. Everybody's human. I'm going to have a bad day again, maybe tomorrow. But it's not what I want to be known for. And it seems like the people that are beloved are generally the people that they know this guy would give me the shirt off his back if I was in trouble. I can't totally control who I am, but I can do a better job than I have maybe in the past.
Yeah.
So it's tricky because you're absolutely right. There is an authority that is kind of baked into the drummer cake. And if you don't have that authority, you're probably not going to be very good at your job.
Yeah.
So trying to figure out how to do that and still be a pleasant personality, especially in a conflict scenario, it's tricky, man.
Yeah. It's really funny. I got to watch, I'm sure you remember this experience. It wasn't too long ago, but the online drum educator, Stephen Taylor.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
He had one song and he did this experiment where he had you, Steve Brewster, Dan Needham, Steve Gould, and Kenny Aronoff play the same song. And you could see how vast playing and musical choices is from drummer to drummer.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah.
It really was.
Yeah.
Some guys were just like experimenting, going crazy. Some guys were just more down the middle. The snare drum choices. It was very fascinating.
It was funny. I mixed those.
Did you mix those? Wow.
Yes. So I got a slight. Well, I mixed them after we were all done, and the rule was I'm not allowed to go back and change mine after I hear what somebody else does.
Wow.
I made that commitment to Steve, and everybody was so good, but when I got Dan Needham's files, I almost sold my drum kits. It just made me so mad. I was like, "You son of a gun!"
And it seemed like to me like we never really crossed paths, but occasionally I'll run into him, and he's just very soft spoken.
Dude,
and
you need to have him on.
Yeah,
you need to have breakfast with him. He will have breakfast with you.
Yeah.
That is a great man and a world-class musician.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he's Michael McDonald approved.
And so many others.
So many others, yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fantastic. It's funny because, I'm thinking, getting back to your point earlier about reminding yourself of what I'm doing in the reality. You know,
Yeah.
I find myself doing the same thing. I have a steady client, and they're great for voiceover. And a lot of it is, you know, for sales, press 1. For accounting, press 2.
Yep.
For Galen, press 101.
But you take the job, Jim, and you kill it.
But the thing is that for me, you get into your head like, it's like, and I'm like, I have the experience of being out there in a hot house and, you know, drilling through headers and then getting wood shavings all over my arms and not peeing all day because you're drinking water and it's coming out through your skin.
Yep.
And even then, you still kind of get to that moment of like, I need to appreciate this more. This could be worse.
Yep.
But what are those? What kind of songs are those in the realm of what I just described with these prompts? You know, for both of you guys, you know, what kind of music is kind of like where it's just the bread and butter?
How would you answer that?
I don't think it's the kind of music. Because I like so many different genres, and there's more commonalities between all of them than you would think. But it's just maybe the quality of the songwriting or the quality of the person singing. So sometimes if somebody will reach out to me and will say, "Hey, I've got 2 songs I'd love for you to play on," blah 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 blah, and I can't find them on Spotify, or I'll say, "Can you please send me an example of your music?" And then I'll make a decision if I want to work with them. Because if it's too bad,
how do you let them down?
I'll just say, please let me know when you
get better,
attach yourself to a producer or a publishing company, something like that. You know?
Yeah.
Like they're vetted. You want them to be somewhat vetted.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah, that's tricky because you don't, like you could apply it to a production situation. I've had situations where somebody wants me to help them make a record, or at least they want me to lead a tracking session for them, call the players and stuff. And part of you is like, well, so you'll hear the material and you realize maybe this isn't ready for prime time yet. They might get there, but we're not there yet. Well, somebody's going to take their money.
Yeah.
And I'm always, I struggle with where's the line on that, because I know somebody will take their money and dishonor them by just phoning something in.
Yeah.
There is a certain satisfaction you get from taking something where when you heard the demo, you're like, this isn't there yet, but we're going to help them get it where it needs to be.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes you realize when you listen to something, that might not be possible, but being able to hear past a bad demo and try to help somebody get to where they're capable of getting, there's a certain pleasure in that. So I always have a hard time looking at something and trying to figure out which is it. Is this the kind of thing that could be damaging to the career, or is it the kind of thing that I may be able to help them get somewhere that nobody can see yet?
They might get your track and automatically know I got to step it up.
I mean, yes, possibly. But usually if they're calling guys from Nashville who have a pedigree, there's probably going to be somebody else in the chain that's as good as me, you know, a keyboard player, bass player, whoever it might be. So that the sum of the parts might equal something pretty great.
Worst case scenario, they end up with this amazing ready for radio track with a bad song and a bad vocal.
Yeah.
But
the drums sound great.
But you help them because maybe they just had a dream their entire life of recording their song. Maybe they've been working on the song for 20 years.
Yeah.
And you know, that's what they call in Nashville, you know, the custom recording session where, you know, you go in and we sign either like a demo scale or a limited pressing scale, and there's 6 or 7 guys on the floor, and this guy comes in and he saved his money entire life to do this, and he knows he's got to pay for the studio and the engineer and all the musicians and lunch and cartage, and then he's got to get it mixed, he's got to get it mastered. He's looking at tens of thousands of dollars, and you're just a cog in the wheel. So the only thing you could do is just give 100% of yourself to try to make it the best possible thing. And then that's what you give to that person to help make this dream come alive.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's also, I guess, in my case, I had one guy that came to a BNI meeting, which is where I network every week.
Yeah.
And he wrote a book and then found out, because I have the voiceover and podcasting seat in the group, that I do voiceover. He says, how much I want to talk to you about you narrating my book. And this guy had already like violated all sorts of decorum in the group and stuff like that. But the whole premise of his book was to change the political system in terms of how to become a president. He wanted unnaturalized citizens to be able to become president. Like, he wasn't from here, wasn't born here, but felt like he had a calling to be our president. And he lays the whole plan out in his book. And I read like the first page of it, because he says, hey, you can do this and we're going to profit share it. And I'm like, oh, no, we're not. You're paying me up front. And I don't want any part of this thing. Yeah. But I'm shooting so high.
Yeah.
It's going to be a $15,000 gig. And I went through it and I explained it and bolstered everything up. And he's like, that's really high. I said, is it though? And I started using my sales acumen back at him and said, look, it's really not high. I said, if you're comparing me to somebody on Fiverr and things of that nature, sure, of course, you're going to be able, if you want to do that, good luck.
But you get what you pay for on those.
You get what you pay for. And I said, you're going to get multiple takes. You're getting, 20 plus years of experience doing this. I know how to work ACX and blah, 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 blah. And, and he's like, but you really want to be a part of it. I said, you really believe in this though? Mm-hmm. You really believe in this? This is going to be a bestseller. He goes, yeah. And I said, why would you want to cut me in at, 40%?
Yeah.
If it's going to be so, keep it for yourself. I'm cheap then.
Yep.
He didn't
Jim, you're good.
That's how I kind of get out.
I wish
shoot high.
I should have taken some business courses. These are the things I missed out on.
I took no business courses, all car business.
I mean, as far as negotiation skills, you're probably at a point and you have enough relationships. You don't have to do this. And I haven't done this, but there's two websites, Air Gigs and Sound Better. Mm-hmm. You have to list your price on there. Mm-hmm. I didn't like that. Mm. But anyways, there's a lot of heavy cats on there. Mm-hmm. There's also a lot of not heavy cats on there. So what are your thoughts on, do you have to do that? I haven't done it.
Well, I'm not great. Oh, it's my wife. Hold on just a second. No. I am not great at it. That was my wife. Yeah. Sorry, honey.
Do you need to take it?
No, no. I was just being silly.
She's like, pick up a half and half, please.
She knew I was doing. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah.
Blueberries.
I have not been great at social media. I've resisted it a little bit. I know a few guys in town that won't do it at all, and they're working like crazy.
Oh, good for them.
Awesome. I do a little bit for my endorsements, but I'm not very good at it. I feel like some guys are great at figuring it. You're obviously fantastic at it. There's ways to do it where you can just come off as a used car salesman.
Oh, yeah.
There's other ways to do it that somehow, despite the self-promotion, it's somehow classy.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've never quite found the center.
Oh, I made mistakes along the way.
And haven't we all? Yeah. I remember I talked to one guy who's well known in town, and he said, I've been the guy not working for 2 or 3 days or 2 weeks at a time, scrolling through social media, looking at all of my friends on sessions going, why didn't they call me? Yeah. He said, I don't ever want anybody looking at my social media and having that feeling.
Wow.
So he said, I just don't do it. And if I do, it's very coy. I don't think that you have to go to that extreme, but I get it. Because we've all felt that. Like there's moments for all of us, even when you've reached what you feel like is the pinnacle of your career, there will be a week or two here where you're like, it's over. I'm done. And then it comes back. It always does. Somebody great once told me, never look forward in your calendar, always look backwards, because then you see,
Oh, I've been working.
Yeah. God's faithful. But that's a long way around your question. The answer is, yeah, probably. I think you have to do something now, despite these few guys I know who somehow have been able to navigate around it. That's kind of the exception. It feels like you have to at least have some kind of a presence somewhere.
Yeah.
No matter how no matter how developed your career may be, I just think it's kind of the nature of the beast.
I feel like, like Paul Lyme is in his 70s and he's got such a robust check from playing on Star Wars and Battlestar Galactica and ships, and he was in the golden ages of it all. This guy right here has always been in my ear going, you know what? Well, I mean, look at some of your heroes, your Kennys and your Greggs and your Vinny Colaiuta's got a podcast. Like, thank God I got in. Yeah. Like, and I, like I said, I've made mistakes. I have definitely come off as a used car salesman, and people call me a promosexual, and it's like, but
I think one person,
I haven't heard
one person called you that.
I know, but it's actually funny as hell.
And it probably resonated with you and stuck around.
It did.
And it, limits your activity because that's in the back of your mind.
Yes.
But our good friend Mike Terrana, who is over in Italy doing his covers and everything like that, he is so much fun to watch. What is he? He's 70 as well.
Yeah.
Unbelievable shape, really good health and everything, still playing really well. A lot of fun to watch. I enjoy all of his stuff. He's got a huge following on Instagram and TikTok and all the things. He just started doing because you got the Gary V jab, right hook.
Yep.
If you ever watched that, that's a great book.
Yep.
Crush it.
He's kind of doing that now.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, here are my sticks, and he's probably got takers because he's provided so much value over the years and entertained so many drummers. I'll give your sticks a shot.
Well, the weirdest thing for me is that I just knew that with the slow death of the music industry and all the changes that have happened, it's like I always wanted to be a live drummer and I always wanted to be a session drummer, and they both feed each other. And then I have a teacher's heart. And so by combining all those things and letting the world I know I do all three of those things, my calendar's never empty.
Yeah.
Which is, thank God.
Praise God. I'm a pretty devout Christian for whatever anybody else wants to say. So I believe that provision comes from something beyond myself. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean I don't worry sometimes. I do. But there's one of the things that has been true for me is almost every time throughout 35 years of this, in almost every case where I've tried to manufacture something, it has come to nothing.
Yeah. Most
of the work that I have done, I would say 85 to 90% of it is stuff that just happened. So, I have to take that for what it's worth.
Yeah.
But we live in a social media age where, there's all kinds of people who have no idea what I do or who I am.
Yeah.
And if I want to keep working, I'm going to be 54. I think I've got another 5 to 10 years of this, where I could stay in the game playing well enough to not be embarrassed.
I think 15, 20.
You don't know, but I would say at least into early 60s for sure. And if I'm lucky, 70. So if I want to keep doing this, I'm going to have to market myself in some way. I'm just always trying to find the way to do it that isn't.
Yeah.
And it's just tricky.
I love the guys that don't have to do it. I mean, it's like because I remember having early conversations with Chris McHugh, and he's like, Rich, just let your playing speak for itself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I was like, that sounds good in theory, but now he's even doing it.
He is, because it's the world we live in.
Yeah.
But you know what he's doing? He's documenting himself just playing and having fun.
Yeah.
Whenever you watch somebody just have fun, it's fun for somebody to watch.
Yeah.
He's not trying to put something out there. Again, going back to Gary V, he's all about, document over create. Stop trying to manufacture something ahead. Just document what's happening.
What's actually happening in your life.
It's what's happening.
That's why it's like it's so habitual now that it's like, okay, I just did a session. If I don't put the number chart up there or show what I'm muffling my snare drum with or who the guys are in the room, it never happened.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Right.
And so I just do it.
Yep. Yeah, but you and I have talked about this. There's a lot of things you could be doing. He
wants me to do more. This guy was
the live shots. Do some covers. We'll be 2 miles apart from each other.
When the studio gets built, I'm going to just start having fun playing covers of the songs that built me.
What if you did a cover of the theme to Three Is Company? I think that would be
That would be great.
I'm going to stop right now because that's one of the most recorded drummers in history, but also one of the worst drum tracks in history, like comedy. They must have done it on purpose.
That was Hal Blame, right?
Yeah, I feel sacrilegious. Oh, God.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's a joke, maybe on purpose.
Yeah.
But maybe if you and I, we could like share covers on that. That'll get us some work.
He was, everyone thought that was Alan Thicke singing that song, but it wasn't.
I don't think it was.
No.
I don't know who it was.
Neither do I. It's funny because on your social media page on Instagram, your main profile picture is an airplane, which is another interest of yours.
Ah.
Yes, I learned to fly 20 some odd years ago, early 30s. I just wanted another skill.
Yeah.
And you've kept up with it?
Yes. I don't know how much longer I will. I actually bought a plane and fly it around a little bit. I'll probably sell it soon.
Wow.
Sell it and buy a drone.
Wow.
Because you can actually be a drone pilot.
Yeah.
So.
And you can see so much of New Jersey right now with a drone. Sorry. I don't know.
Are you aware of that?
I don't know.
We need a splash.
Are you aware of that?
What's going on?
In New Jersey, are those actual drones?
They're not telling us what's going on.
They're like SUV sized drones.
It's crazy.
Right?
But flying it's a drug.
My uncle was a pilot for American Airlines for 25 years.
Yeah, that's a real pilot.
And now his son is a pilot for American.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
But those guys even, you talk about racing to the bottom in terms of scale of pay.
Oh.
Even pilots of major airlines.
Well, you build up seniority.
Yeah.
And you can make really, really good living. And then the airline goes belly up and sells to somebody. And you could be 58 years old starting at the bottom of the seniority chain, and you have to retire when you're 65.
Yep.
It's a rough.
It stinks.
It can be rough. It can be fantastic if you time it just right.
Yeah.
But that's a cutthroat little business.
And that's the troubadour lifestyle. I mean,
no kidding.
You knew you didn't really want to go on the road. You knew you wanted your studio tan. I was like, I'm just going to take the work that comes and hopefully it all works out. But, my bag has been packed for, I tell everybody, 27 years. That bag is in the corner. Who knows how many pieces of luggage, because they build them like crap now.
Yep.
They don't last.
Yep.
It's always been calling me rich, but I love the travel. I mean, I don't mind it.
Yep.
But, I don't have kids,
Yeah, I've got 4. And it's been great sleeping in my own bed most of the time.
Nice.
And I think it's nice for the kids too.
Oh, yeah. Because I know tons of touring musicians my age, older, that had kids.
Yeah.
And they were not participants in raising that child.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of regret and resentment and just problems.
You can get that resentment also from proximity, just being in the room. Trust me, but I think maybe it's helpful if both mom and dad are around for that stuff. But I'm sure when I was touring, I think my wife enjoyed the space for maybe 3 or 4 days at a time. That was okay for. So yeah.
It would drive my wife nuts. She likes having me around for some reason.
Well, you guys are an amazing couple because musician weekend is like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Yeah. Yep.
A lot of fun.
Yeah, totally. So gear wise, aren't you with WFL?
I am.
That is it's iconic in terms of the people that are involved with it, but a relatively new company, but very cool, soulful drums.
Yeah. Bill Ludwig can't use his name because they sold 30 some years ago. So, WFL stands for William F. Ludwig III, WFL III. I like to describe them as late 60s Ludwigs with new wood.
Yeah.
That's kind of what they sound like to me. And I love that.
Now, is the late 60s, the thing about vintage drums, and there's like so many indie bands they get all crazy over the vintage drums because the dry 70s drum sound is so in right now. 60s and 70s Ludwigs, similar in the sense that very short decay, not super loud, right?
Yeah, the great thing about, I've always found older Ludwig kits, like the 60s kits, you can get decay out of them if you're in the right room and you've got them sitting on the right hardware. It might not be DW decay, but they're not necessarily just going to, so I think the WFL III drums are like that too. I like them because I can sort of bridge the gap between 50 years ago and now with them. They can sound pretty modern, depending on what head choices I put on them. Or I can make them sound like they're 50, 60 years old.
Remo or Evans?
I like both. I don't have a deal with either one of them, so I'll go back and forth. But I almost always land on Remo, because it's what I grew up with. It's what I know.
Yeah.
And I always know if I throw a Remo head on the drum, I know what it's going to sound like.
Totally.
So, yeah.
Jim, you should ask your question that you love to ask so much.
My question?
Yeah.
Why did I say it like that? So, for the rest of your life, you got to pick a tribute band to be a part of. And that's it. You make that decision, it's that till the grave. What's it going to be? Who's it going to be?
Well, I'm currently playing in a Toto tribute band.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Where do you guys play?
We don't play that much. We did a bunch and still are doing, during the pandemic, we had some videos that did pretty well because everybody was bored. So we did a bunch of,
Zooms.
Well, just everybody, doing
their
stuff at the home and now that I've played Toto music live, I'm realizing that music is meant to be played when you're very young and very healthy. Because 2 hours of that is, one song at a time in the studio is one thing, but to actually, so I have to take that into consideration now. I have to take my age into consideration when I answer that question. One of, you keep using the term deserted island. One of my deserted island bands is Fleetwood Mac. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if I'd want to play that music with, like, that has to be all I play for the next 25,
That's
30
hard
years.
for a session drummer because he wears multiple hats all the time.
Right. You got variety to spice things up.
Yeah, but if I had to pick any band and say I'll play this music until I'm gone, that's really tough.
It's one thing to listen to it. It's another thing to play it.
To play it, I might have, because I know it's a love 'em or hate 'em band, but I might have to say Steely Dan.
There you go. Because you get to be like 7 different drummers.
That's the thing, is there's a lot of variety, and it is laid back enough that I could probably still be playing it in my mid 60s or 70s. Not all of it, but a lot of it.
Yeah, you get to do the Asia Steve Gadd. You get to do Babylon Sisters Purdy. You get to do Jeff Porcaro. You get to do
Rick Marotta. You get to there's a lot of stuff there.
Greene. You get to do Greene.
Ed Greene.
Ed Greene.
Holy cow! There's a guy. I'm glad you know who that is. Ed Greene is.
We had him on episode like 20 or something,
dude.
Yeah.
Golly, talk about. I forget about him. He was a huge influence on me when I was a kid.
Remember I Will Survive?
Oh, gosh.
Sounds like a drum machine.
Yeah, there was something.
It was so cute because Ed came over to the interview and he had pages and pages of notes about his discography, dude, and it was great.
He played on so much stuff.
So much.
Yeah.
That was the heyday. It really, really was.
Yeah.
This has really just been a great conversation. We just going to usually end with the favorite 5. Sometimes I call it the fast 5, but it's never fast. Favorite color?
Blue.
What is that? What is that hoodie? It's like a.
It's kind of green blue, I guess.
Yeah,
like an aqua.
Aqua.
Probably blue.
Yeah. Do you have blue? Do you have some blue sparkles?
No, I should.
Like a blue sparkle drum
green.
set.
I'm going to change. I think green's my favorite color.
Do you have green drums?
No, yellow. No, green. I do have green sparkle.
Dennis Holt's got the big yellow.
Yes, he does. I've got some old late 60s Rogers Holiday drums that are green sparkle.
Nice.
Ooh, yummy.
I got some 70s amber, the green Vistalites.
Oh.
Got them from Gary Asher. You know Gary Asher, the drum trader?
I know who he is, yeah. Golly. That's great. Green Vistalites. That's fantastic.
Green, baby. How about food? You got a favorite food or dish?
My mother's apple pie.
Nice.
But since that's very specific, I would used to have probably said Italian food with emphasis on lasagna. Since I'm having to lay off the carbs a little bit, I might have to say Indian food, like a good tikka masala.
Yeah, but then you got all the naan.
Yeah, well,
you don't have to eat it.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, boy, you do. But you know what? If you just get a good tikka or a good chicken biryani or something, you can
a butter
say
chicken.
no to the butter chicken. You can say no to the naan and still feel okay about it.
Is there some
the Indian places here that you've eaten?
I was going to ask.
Bawarshi in Cool Springs.
Really?
Go there. Oh, my stars.
Where's that?
It's Carruthers, and it's where the Mercedes
across from the tin roof and all that.
Close. It's Baker's Bridge and Carruthers, right across from the Mercedes dealer.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Oh,
I know where that is.
At the School of Rock.
Yeah.
Angie and Kelly. Yeah.
It is so good.
Awesome.
It's like England level Indian food.
I've eaten there actually with Mercurio.
Yeah, it's good.
So
what's up, Michael Mercurio? Okay, and how about your favorite drink?
Drink?
Yeah. It could be exciting or not exciting.
Favorite drink? God, you should have prepared me for this.
It's the whole point of the question, though. We shouldn't.
Favorite drink is probably turned into coffee. I'm a late entry into the coffee world.
Really?
But it's gotten like I can even drink really good high-end coffee. I can drink it black now. It took a minute, but like a really good light to medium roast, I can drink it black now.
I drink coffee black these days.
I'll drink coffee black, but it's like I like it like alien blood. I like the strongest stuff they got.
You like dark
Royal.
roast?
Yeah, dark roast.
Yeah.
And then I try to avoid the creamer, but some of that coffee mate, like the coconut flavor.
They're putting something in it.
Sexy.
It's like cigarettes. Yeah.
Super.
I feel like every time I'm having those additives, the creamers and stuff like that, it's like putting poison in your coffee.
It is.
Yeah.
It is, but it's still good.
Yeah.
It is still good.
I mean, people know cocaine's bad for them, but they take it anyway.
Is it though?
Okay. Next question.
The funny thing is about Starbucks is that really they're not really it's less of a coffee place now and more of a sugar dispensary.
Oh boy.
The thing is, okay,
I get a mocha at Starbucks. That's the
things that are okay for us are legal. That they say are legal, but it seems like the things that are illegal are actually better for us.
Yeah.
Like, marijuana is not bad for you.
I am pleading the fifth on this conversation.
Cheech and
But they used to put cocaine in Coke.
I've heard that. Yes.
Coca.
Yeah.
Coca.
Yeah.
Okay, so what would be your favorite song at the moment? Do you have one that is just like you will always revisit it? It always has
Dreams by Fleetwood Mac, absolutely.
Wow.
But that right now, probably Jacob Collier's recent cover of "Bridge Over Troubled Water" with Tori Kelly and John Legend.
Wow. Okay.
Have you heard the Disturbed version of? It's another Simon and Garfunkel tune, big one. And they covered it. No. It's oh my gosh.
We're all going to take our Prevagen after this.
Sounds of Science.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
I've heard. Yeah, it's pretty great.
It is soul jarring.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Have you seen?
That's
have you
a good
heard
band,
it?
man.
Have you heard that song?
No,
that rendition?
I'm sure I have. Yeah.
Oh, buddy.
I'm sure I have. I got to hang out with the drummer backstage. He brought his girlfriend to our show because the girlfriend was a huge country fan, and he's like, "I'm new to all this." I was like, "Yeah, it's cool, man."
Yeah.
But
I one of the reasons I love Fleetwood Mac is because Mick Fleetwood is
quirky drumming.
I love him.
Yeah.
Really?
It's like Ringo. Like I don't want to use the term "it's so bad it's great" because it's not bad. It's amazing. Like, why is this so good?
Yeah.
We grew up idolizing Gadd and Vinny and Dave Weckl and Dennis Chambers and all these. And what is it about what Mick Fleetwood does? Playing fills in all the wrong places.
Yep.
Cymbal hits. The scene changes don't
line up.
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
Why is it so great? I love it.
Werewolves of London, Warren Zevon, he saved the session.
I'm telling you, there's just something about the simplicity. I'm sorry, I know this is a detour, but it's a drummer.
No, I love it. I mean, to celebrate his drumming, yeah.
Love Mick Fleetwood.
He was in a movie too.
The persona is great too.
Yeah.
You know, I took my son for his 18th birthday, my oldest son, this is almost 10 years ago now. I took him, he'd always wanted to go to California and see where I grew up. So he didn't know where we were going until we got to the airport and he saw Burbank. We get on the plane. He doesn't know what we're going to do when we get out there. He's a Disney fanatic. He had never been to Disneyland.
Yeah.
So we did that. And then we went, and I had not been in the Forum. I saw Sting's Nothing Like the Sun tour in the Forum in 1988. That's the last time I was there. We went and saw Fleetwood Mac at the Forum, and just, you know, the show starts out pitch black, all these whistles starting, and all of a sudden, boom, boom, listen to the wind blow.
Nice.
I mean, it just, I'm sorry.
Was that with Mike Campbell on guitar, right?
No, it was Lindsay. This was the full, it might have been the last tour they did as a full, because it was in 2015 maybe? Yeah. Anyway, sorry, detour.
The last question is, what is your favorite movie of all time, or your favorite movie as of late?
Yeah.
Well, oh gosh, I wish you'd given me some heads up on this. That is tough. I'll say this. I don't know that it's my favorite movie of all time, but the soundtrack of my childhood is John Williams. Like, I get emotional thinking about it because he's 90 something.
What a imprint he left.
And what he did for the last 15 minutes of E.T. is mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Really?
It just, that holds the scene where E.T.
He's taking off.
I think it's a 15-minute piece of music.
Mm-hmm.
And I've watched it with my kids. My youngest we had a midlife surprise. Our number 3 is 19 and number 4 is 10. And I watched E.T. with him for the first time a year or two ago, and he had to keep looking at me and say, "Daddy, why are you crying?" Like, that score is just unbelievable.
Yeah, man.
Is it similar to like the end of Close Encounters?
Well, same. It's very similar.
Very, very rising and soaring type of
Yeah, well,
tones.
and those two movies, I don't know, you'd have to ask Steven Spielberg. They feel like cousins.
Yeah.
You know, those were his two kind of homages to,
Sci-fi,
extraterrestrial life.
Yeah.
And so and John Williams did both scores. So it's a different flavor.
Yeah, but I could tell that I've got goosebumps thinking about you crying because,
dude,
there's just these visceral reactions that we have. I mean, just these pieces of art. For me, it's Jerry Goldsmith, Planet of the Apes, Alien.
And Patton. Have you ever watched Patton?
I'm sure I
with
have.
George C. Scott.
Yeah.
That's Jerry Goldsmith. If you're a fan, watch Patton sometime. Yeah. Oh, it's phenomenal.
But I mean, Alien is
I know.
Like,
yeah, he found a way with that score to make you feel really gross and freaked out. Yeah. And that's something.
All the pizzicato.
Yeah, that's like all the old the stuff that Hitchcock did with the
birds and all that.
Yeah. I'm so mad I can't remember the guy's name. All my friends are going to hate me.
Yeah, who is the composer for
we all know
Hitchcock?
who it is, and it's on the tip of my tongue, and I'm lost.
I'll look it up.
You can
composer Alfred Hitchcock films. So is it one guy doing them all?
He did a lot of them, and it just irritates me that I've forgotten it. But it's that same.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So if people want to track you down, hire you, ask you a question, what's the best way for them to find you?
Well, Facebook. I'm on Facebook, and they can PM me there.
Bernard Herrmann.
I knew I was going to hate myself as soon as you said it.
But that's a name I don't know.
Oh yeah, he's one of the great film scores.
Yeah. What about the Interstellar soundtrack? Have you listened to that? That's a real
the Christopher Nolan movies are am I dumb? I mean, it's just so much.
It is. There's a lot of information.
It is. Yeah.
I like that movie because we had to take a 4-hour flight to San Francisco. And it just started it, and once we landed, it was done.
That's a good way to watch a film. Yeah, I don't know who does Nolan scores. I should know that. I love movie scores. but
they can either make or break a movie, man.
Oh gosh.
And it's funny because Close Encounters is so, that's what will get me tearful, because my father and I used to watch it when I was a kid, and he always had it on VHS.
Yeah.
And I always used to watch. I was so into it, probably being 6, 7 years old.
Yeah.
And I knew that he was a big fan of it. They re-released it, I don't know, about 6, 7 years ago in the theaters.
Yep.
So my whole family went to go see it.
Yep.
They indulged me. And oh my God, it's like my father's been gone since 2006. So whenever I come across
those connections,
it's like, Dad, I'm okay.
You know what? It's funny. I just my version of that is we just watched, and we have to do it every year because it is one of my favorite films. Is Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Oh my God, those aren't pillows.
Yes. So that film, John Hughes was so good at, and that film in particular, you are doubled over laughing for an hour and a half, and on a dime, you're crying.
I know.
You can't stop crying. Well, that film, so my now wife, when I told you we met very young, she had come to visit me and left, and I was depressed and sad, and my dad said, let's go see a movie. So that was in the theater. This would have been in 87, about Christmas time.
Yeah.
It was right after Christmas in 87. It was still playing. So Dad took me to that film. Now, sitting with your father during that F-word scene when you're 17 years old.
That's a big deal.
You're just like, I'm sitting there going, I know he thinks this is funny. I know but we cannot acknowledge that this ever happened.
Don't look at him.
Yeah, do not make eye contact. But he and I thought the same things were funny. We had a different way that our humor manifested. Yeah. But that film that's a kind of a flashpoint, sitting there with and because I lost my dad 7 years ago, so I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. I'll hear the Over the Rainbow by the Hawaiian guy whose name I can't say. It's so long. Yeah. And I used 3 different songs. I put a video together kind of as a memorial tribute to his life. One was Good Man by Emerson Drive.
Nice.
And the next one was Over the Rainbow. Yep. And then Dream Big by Ryan Shoup.
Oh, sure.
Band.
Yeah.
Great songs.
Yeah.
Just incredible songs.
Yeah, man. That Trains, Planes, and Automobiles, so easy to watch. Mm-hmm. It's an emotional roller coaster. Great acting, great story. And then at the end, Paul Young, every time you go away.
Oh my gosh.
You take a piece of me. I mean, that's in my Guilty Pleasures playlist. It's just, I don't know what it's Pino and the drum machine.
It's such a good track.
Oh, yeah. You know what song's been popping up in our playlist? It came up a lot on our drive out for Thanksgiving. The Cars, Who's Gonna Take You Home?
Oh, wow.
Great song.
Drive.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. What a great, it's just a really.
And the 2 guys in that band, I mean, they're both dead. I mean, Rick Ocasek's gone. Really? Benjamin Orr has been gone a long time.
Yep.
Really?
We're losing all the great rock stars, man. We just had our friend Michael Sterto on yesterday. He's the guitar player for Lou Gramm. I mean, Lou Gramm's in his 70s, still trying to belt out. Like, the key, I got to back up. This is unbelievable. I got to play with Paul from Bad Company.
Oh, Rogers.
Wow. Paul Rogers. With a D in there. R-O-D.
Rogers.
And he was just a nice guy. And he was like, good job on the drums, mate. And I was like, it's when you hear these iconic individuals in your ears.
I know.
It's like, wow, man, maybe I am onto something. Maybe I'm okay at this. I keep getting invited to these parties.
Yeah. You're doing something right.
If doubting yourself is what gotten you this far, yeah, you're all right.
Well, isn't that all of us? The more bravado you put out, the more self-doubting you probably are.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, artists are just full of insecurity. It's just part of, I think, I keep using the same terms, but that's also baked into the cake. So
yeah. So we don't know when this is going to come out. So I'll just like to say,
towards the end of
happy
January.
holidays to you guys, or I hope your holidays were great.
They were fantastic. So awesome.
But thanks so much for joining us.
What a pleasure. Thanks for asking.
It's just like great to have you. And, you've been a pillar of the recording industry here for 30 years, and you're doing something right, man.
Well, you're kind to say it, and back at you.
Great job. Thank you for being here. Jim, thank you for your time and talent. We love you, brother. We're getting ready for your holiday party.
Yeah. to happen.
Catered by Publix.
Yes, public.
I love it. Hey, and to all the listeners, thank you guys so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. Be sure to subscribe, share, rate, and review. And you guys aren't doing it. Will you please subscribe, share, rate, and review? It helps people find the show. We appreciate it. We'll be here next time. See ya. Thanks, guys.
This has been The Rich Redmond Show. Subscribe, rate, and follow along at richredmond.com/podcasts.